let's do this. Let's want to do a little video and talk about first grand tournaments we've already had of 11th edition. Yeah, some people already had GTs on launch weekend with the new rules because most of the rules were out ahead of time. They were fully out, with the app updated. Actually, the app was a little buggy here, so I know some people had some issues with it. Even one of the lists I was looking at, every time they upload their list, it would crash. So not all the information was technically there. I had to look up a couple things here and there. I just want to run down this real fast. It's a very small sample size. Don't get me wrong. There were still some tournaments played in 10th edition that weekend. Makes sense. Some people just didn't update the app, and just rolled with it. But some people jumped right in and were right into 11th edition this weekend, on launch weekend, doing a huge tournament. I can only imagine. I'm like, that feels chaotic. You didn't have a week to prepare, really. I mean, you kind of did, because we had the rules a little early, but we were missing some stuff, but you didn't have, like, the point changes and all that ahead of time. I imagine some people were probably running versions of their list that were similar to their 10th edition list. And I imagine some of these lists people haven't really changed how they're building yet or how they're playing for the edition yet. So this might not be the greatest sampling at this point. We're gonna get more like as over the next couple weeks, months, and people really dive into this edition. We'll probably see some upheaval. We'll probably see some changes, especially if DW sticks with their guns and they do some updates monthly for the first couple months here, or some changes here and there monthly with the points and everything and the balancing. We're gonna see this fluctuate quite a bit here. I know I'm doing a GT. I'm doing the Hia GT on July 19th, I believe it is. We'll check real fast. 18th, July 18th. So we're getting close here. So I have a little bit of time to prepare. I got a couple lists I want to try out. I just want to run down though what did place in the new edition here so far that was shown, as well as go into detail about two of the Tyranid lists that did decent. That did pretty good here. There were a couple Tyranid lists over the weekend that did 4-1. I saw in someone else's video. I know I got all those. The only two that really popped up for the current edition on Goonhammer were two subterranean assault lists. I'll talk about those a little bit here. But first, what placed this weekend here? There was a Sisters Army that took second at an event, running Army of Faith and Chorus of Condemnation. They have the option of recon or take and hold. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me what they actually went with. So I would kind of like to know, like, what they actually decided to run the entire event. I don't know. I'm not sure what would actually be better. Take and hold's the easier one. Recon's a little bit more involved. So I don't know enough about Sisters, like going through some of these armies lists. Like, oh yeah, they probably played this because they built their list. I mean, I don't know. I don't play these armies. There's so much, and there's so much that's just changed. So I don't want to assume here. But the distribution is pretty interesting. To be honest, with how much people think, how good people think Purge the Foe is at this point, I expected all these to be Purge the Foes. I think Purge the Foe is a little overrated at the moment. I think the knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, it's easy, so obviously it's good. And I think as people change their playstyle and their list building, I don't think Purge is going to be the top dog. I think it's going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be the top one. I don't think Taking Hold is going to be either. I think it's going to shock us in like a month or two what's doing really strong or what's really strong in the edition already. Anyways, Custodians list took first on an event with Lions of the Emperor doing Purge. It honestly makes sense for Custodes. Purge is a strong one. They're hard to limit their units. They have a good board presence. They can have some good board control. They start losing too much stuff. Their missions are hard for them, but then they have to hold like an objective or two. Although if they're pushing the enemy back, some of the Purge missions do want you to hold more opponent or more objectives than your opponent. Granted, nothing. I don't think too many reward you for destroying multiple units in a turn. If you overkill your opponent, you can actually lose points. I feel like with Purge, some weird oddities like that in the missions here. I'm agnostic first with Eradication Cohort, also Purge the Foe. Don't get me wrong, there are quite a few Purge the Foes. But I feel like, especially with the beginning of the edition, it's an easy one to play. A Black Templar army took second with Ironstorm Spearhead, which is Purge. Dark Angels in second with Company of Hunters and Darkflight Pursuit. They have the option between Disruption and Recon. Again, I'm not sure what they actually went with in the end here. Deathwatch in fourth, an event with Black Spear Task Force, which is priority assets. Drukhari in fourth with Exhibitions of Slaughter and Sky Splinter Assault, the Recon disposition. Emperor's Children are one of the ones that had multiple placings. Third and fourth, similar to Tyranids actually. Poetry of the Conceited, which is Purge the Foe. Tyranids took second in an event in this edition. Already, Argent Assault and Banishers. They had the option between Disruption and Purge. To be honest, I could see this player picking Disruption over Purge, depending on their army composition. Because Disruption's got a really nice mix of like kill the unit, do some actions, hold objectives. It's got a good balance of things. It's got a nice variety. Again, for simplicity's sake, they might have went Purge, just to keep things simple for the first go at this here. Imperial Knights took third. Alright, there's some people out there that are like, oh my gosh, Knights got nerfed. Knights, I think, are in a good spot still. They're such a hard force to balance. And there's some things that definitely really buff them in this edition so far. Especially like the, what was it, the Plunging Fire. They all kinds of like abilities that help them out quite a bit here, like the ways to eliminate cover and everything. So ways to get 4+ invulnerable saves. Others is Purge. Honestly, Purge on Knights does feel really good, I'm sure. You don't have to, you start pushing any back, you have more objectives in them. You get one of those layouts where the two center objectives are near each other. You probably get one knight on both and just blow the shit out of stuff. It's probably not a bad composition for them here. T-Suns took first with Hexwhoop, Thrallband, and Thecatar Cohort. I had to look up what these were because this is one of the people that was having an issue uploading their list. They had in their notes that the app kept crashing every time they would upload. They had the option to take and hold in priority assets. Judging from the composition of the list, from what I recall off the top of my head here, they probably want take and hold over priority assets. They didn't have a ton of units for priority assets, so the priority stats can be really action heavy depending on the mission matchup. So, and then Tyranids, we took third and fourth with Subterranean Assault, which is only got the option to be Disruption. Which Disruption can be kind of weird for that one, I feel like, because Disruption does have a mission setup where you can do multiple actions in a turn. And the missions where you have to do one action seem fine. The one where you like, I think it's a booby trap one where you can do multiple actions and booby trap multiple pieces of terrain or objectives. Seems a little challenging with potentially with some of these compositions too. But being a Tyranid player, let's talk about these Tyranid lists real fast here. So the first one, I believe this is the gentleman that took third. They are running a Neurotyrant, leading some full unit of Zoanthropes, which is a fantastic unit. Tyranid Prime with the Lash Whip with 10 Hormagaunts. Another Tyranid Prime with Lash Whip with 10 Hormagaunts. A unit of Hyper-Adapted Raveners with regular Raveners. That is one of my favorite units in the game right now. I still love this unit. It hits so hard. It's so great. It just deletes knights, vehicles, and monsters, and elite infantry. Light infantry and master units, and maybe a little bit of a hard time. 3-year-old ones is so good. Sustain it. Death Leaper. I imagine Death Leaper was there for kind of helping with actions, as a disruption, but also debuffing people's leadership. A solo unit of Hyper-Adapted Raveners. The Red Terror, who is fantastic in a lot of detachments. The Biome we're chilling, holding home, probably screening out the backfield a bit. A full unit of Hive Guard with the Shock Cannon. This is probably some of their anti-vehicle, pop them out of a tunnel, maybe give them the enormous cover if they need to, so they don't lose they don't lose any ballistic skill. Just blast some vehicles. You're not losing your AP anymore because of the cover changes, so solid unit. Only one Malice up there. I was a little surprised. The psychic shooting is really darn good. The -1 aura is fantastic. Just one Derelichter as well, which it's a great utility piece. I mean, causing another battle shock, having more synapse on the field, being able to do actions. I mean, it was probably really helpful. And the one that I love that they included, the Norn Assimilator. And obviously, it's a 3-point detachment. They can't give the Norn Assimilator the invulnerable save, but him at 250 without the invulnerable save, not terrible compared to what it was before, I feel like. And if you play him right, you hit that objective, or you just pop him up in the right spot, like, he's going to be nasty. The Neurotyrant, I think, is going to have a bigger resurgence in the edition because of how Battle Shock works. I have a list I really want to try out. That's Synaptic Nexus. That's got Neurotyrant, 2 Neuralichters, and 2 Screamer Killers. And then I think the Tyrant's also got the aura of -1 leadership. And I keep seeing that's kind of what they're doing with what's the name? With Death Leaper, I believe in this as well here. I'm gonna assume that the plan was to battle shot or Shadows Warp early. Hope that enough of the army battle shocks, and then some of them hopefully fail their battle shock in the following turn. Because they only have like one, I believe Death Leaper has an ability to retrigger the battle shock. I forget now. Having just one Neurolictor, you're only triggering an extra battle shock with that though. Again, like because of disruption, like this feels weird because I feel like they're only action units. Oh, like the Neurolictor and the Death Leaper. Maybe Red Terror, depending like after you get rid of the chaff, you clear the chaff out. Then Red Terror might be helping with actions as well or the missions. But Hyperdaptor Ravners with the solo unit and the big unit with the regular Ravners are probably out killing stuff. I'm assuming these guys are trade pieces, which I came to realize, for like your matchup against that Purge foe, I don't think it's no longer the case where, because this is one unit now where the unit's attached. So they're not scoring for destroying the character and the Hormigaunt separately. Like it's just one unit now, so they're only scoring once. That's a little bit tougher to score on. I'm shocked. I guess I'm not shocked. It's not that much of a point hike. It's like what, 20-point hike overall compared to what was, a couple weeks ago. It's still a really solid unit. It still hits really hard. It definitely kind of punches above its weight class. It helps you get like the early table board control and presence. Perhaps they might have kept one back to hop it through a tunnel to get an enemy home objective. The Zone Therm's gonna pop out and just light something up. And I really hope at some point he popped that Northern assimilator in the enemy's backfield onto their home and just got that piece of terrain and just started wrecking shit, because that'd be great. Uh, Maybe not. Maybe the North assimilator just pick the center objective or the natural expansion. No, because if you want to babysit, why run the Norm assimilator? I feel like this guy played him aggressive, and I hope they did. That's fantastic. Disruption never, unless you're playing another disruption player, it doesn't often want you to hold multiple objectives. For the most part, you just want to hold one. There is one where you want to hold center to do actions. Um, but otherwise, like, Disruption's got like a good mix, like I said. Like, it wants you to kill sometimes it wants you to do like a couple action, like one action or several actions, and it wants you to hold a little bit. So, I mean, you have the flexibility, the mobility with Subterranean Assault to kind of do all of that. I'm just, man, I'm contemplating GT list. I have like a list for Slow Assault. I have a list for Crusher Stampede. The only one I don't have, I do have an Invasion Fleet list because it's my Dallas Open list and it's just modified for the new edition here because it's like 30 points over after all the updates here. I have a Snap Nexus list. Like, I have a Vanguard Onslaught list. And these are all things I want to play test. And I'm hoping that as more time goes on, we see more than Sub Assault for Tyranid players represented in the GT scene that's blazing. We will see shortly here. But speaking of, the other list is very classic with the Subterranean Assaults. They're running one old One Eye with the unit Carnifixes, 5,000 Crushing Claws, Extra Scything Talons, and the Spine Banks there. Hot take. I am not a big fan of old One Eye. I think he's okay. I feel like he's expensive for his toughness and his damage output compared to other things. I think his like smaller base size and the full unit Carnifix is big expensive. I don't know. I I know it's a mainstay for a lot of people. I don't know any Carnifixes right now. I'm waiting until we get our next codex and to see if we get like new Carnifix models at this point, because I'm kind of hoping we do. Because what we use for old One Eye is the third edition or fourth editions. Fourth edition, right? Yeah. I forget now. But it's basically the fourth edition's regeneration Carnifex head. It's not really the old One Eye model. He used to have his own model back in like, yeah, when we had Metal Carnifex in third edition, I think he had his own model still. But anyways, there's also an attached unit, a Narrow Tyrant with 3 Zone Thrips. No enhancement. Red Terror again with a Swarm Lord. I do like this mix right here. I run something kind of similar. I use more Hyperdaptor Ravners, I guess. A Biovore Hive Guard with Shot Cannons. You can see that again here. A Maliceptor. 2 units of Neurogons. I'm assuming these were the screen out the backfield. The units level 11. You spread them out just right. especially like the shorter edge table deployment. They probably zone out quite a bit with the Biovore, and perhaps they were helping take like natural expansions and all that as well in screening. But double Neuraliter, get some actions in because we're running disruption. You know, you have to run disruption, but also causing more battle shocks. We got 2 units of 5 Raveners. We get the flexibility. They're uppy downy. They're decent in close combat. They get where you need them to. So also probably helping with actions when needed to, or helping with primaries, maybe a little bit of secondaries. And then the Screamer Killer to be like a distraction carnifex, of course, and then also cause more battle shocks at -1. It seems like this player leaned into the battle shock a little bit more, which I kind of dig. I want to play around with that a little bit more with the changes here. I don't think battle shock's necessarily the most amazing thing still, but it has more potential than it did before. If that makes sense. Just because you have the test to get out of it. Now, when they test to get out of it, unless you have something that causes minus leadership, they're really not at a negative, so they're on their regular leadership. But still, there's that chance that you're stopping primaries, you're stopping actions. And I think that's just really good. But I was kind of hoping to see some oddball ends. But again, we've only had one weekend of potential tournaments. There were still 10th edition tournaments being played this past weekend. So we still have a lot to see. We're still in those very early days of the edition. I mean, technically at this point, I'm filming this on the 23rd. It's about to roll over the 24th here in a few moments here. But, you know, technically the edition's been out for 3-4 days. So, you know, we can't really judge too much yet. Like, we have a lot more to see. We have a lot of matchups to see. We have so much playtesting to do. And honestly, these 2 tier lists aren't any different than when we were playing in 10th edition, really. With the exception of the 2 Neurogot units, maybe. They're basically just the 10th edition lists that were doing well in 11th edition. Like, I don't see any modifiers, with the exception of, like, the Hive Guard. I didn't see some people play them. But again, I feel like that shot cannon got quite a bit better in this edition here. 160 points for 6 of them? Good. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that pops up. You have the sustained hits at Norse cover. Yeah. And then you also have your Zone Throw unit popping up too. Oh my gosh. Especially against a Battle Shot unit. Because you're +1 to hit with the Zone Throws because of the Neuro Tyrant. You can ignore your negative modifiers because you pick and choose which modifiers you can ignore. So you're never you're ignoring cover with them essentially. So you're hitting on 2s, rerolling your 1s. If the unit's battle shot, you're +1 to wound them because I forget the Neuro Tyrant and the Zone Thrips have that built onto them. And then also your Neuralifters are going to do that as well. That is such a good combo. And the Neuralifters are also causing -1 to hit. On top of the -1 Ballistic skill if things are in cover. And then you have the Maliceptor doing something similar where things are -1 to hit within 6 inches of it, and -1 to wound if they're below half strength. We have some good modifiers in this edition. Like, those are so much bigger in this edition than were in the previous edition, I feel. Because you were overcoming everyone's buffs, because everyone was just like stacking, so they're hitting you on like rerolling 2s, rerolling 3s, whatever. So they're like hitting with almost everything. Sustaining lethals, fishing for lethals, fishing for 6s, you know. And now we can actually push our enemies. Like, we can push Marines into hitting us on 4s and potentially 5s in the right situations. They're using their bonuses to overcome cover now. And then we're throwing other modifiers at them. So I feel like I know other armies have things like this that's gonna boost them, but like, man, it's such a big deal for Tyranids, I feel like. And I hope this is edition where we're in the 50%, the 50 to 55% range instead of like the 42 to 50% range while I'm playing them in 10th edition. Like, they're typically more in like the 42 to 45% win rate. I'm hoping we kind of keep on that good side of the 50% at this point. I don't want to be over the top so we get nerfed. Um, but again, it'll be interesting to see, like, these lists are solid. Don't get me wrong, either way. It's actually got me considering getting Hive Guard at this point. That's another unit, though. I think that kit's been out for a while. I don't want to wait and see what happens. Although, there's a Comet Patrol with them in it. And Hive Guard could be from, like, 7th or 8th edition and newer. I'm not sure when that kit really came out because I didn't play 7th, 8th, or 9th edition. So, they were fine casts when I was playing in 6th edition, I think. They went from metal to fine cast, and these are the full plastic kits, so I think there's a good chance Hiveguard aren't going to get a redo at this point. Maybe Hiveguard are worth looking into right now, honestly, with that shot cannon. Something to consider here. I mean, I'm surprised about just one Maliceptor, but it is Sub-Assault. So your one Maliceptor is probably going in the thick of it. There is Swarmlord in this list too, right? Yeah, in Red Terror. But again, alright, what was he doing actions with this army, though? Probably the oh yeah, probably the Raptors, the Neurolictors, maybe the Neurogons even. Maybe the Maliceptor, because he's not great in combat. His shooting is so good. But, yeah. It's exciting. The new edition, honestly, I'm liking it so far. I really like the train footprint changes. I like the train changes in general. The rule changes seem fine so far, like they seem good. You know, just getting used to the changes here at this point. But imagine as we play more and more, this game's going to flow really good here. We're going to start getting the nuance to it and start changing our list building and start changing how we play the game. Because that's going to take a little bit for people to do here. I'm even on the thought now, because like I said, I have a GT coming, that there's a very good chance that like I might end up just playing my Dallas Open list or something similar to it, just because I know the units, even if it's an invasion fleet again, or maybe I'll buck it up and get some of my Ravners painted finally and run Sub Assault for GT and knock it out. But I do want to try out some like new things, like with like I said, Synaptic Nexus, and I did try Vanguard Onslaught already. I did get more lictors going already. So we'll see. There's things to play with here. I need to get an Aura Simulator so I can try him out, maybe two, so we can run 4 Norns at some point. I believe there's also a list, but it didn't show up on Goodhammer. Someone's running Crusher Stampede with the Warrior Onslaught attachment. So you have the option to purge and take and hold. And honestly, it's kind of solid because you have Warriors the 5 up invuln, holding your objectives, and the ranged warriors are kind of cheap. So if you want ranged warriors and use them for your objectives, your actions, and stuff like that, and your secondaries more so, then use your monsters for like the killing and the pushing forward and like holding your enemy back. Probably a pretty solid combo to be honest too here. But again, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to see what people come up with here as we get more used to this edition and really start building into the primaries for it instead of just, you know, unless you're trying to play it like 10th edition still. But anyways, thank you for hearing me out. This one's a little shorter, a little bit less girthy than my previous videos. Um, Also, anyone that's been popping by, like my priority assets video has been popping off for me. I'm a small content creator, so that thing went from like 180 views to like way over 200 in like a day. Um, it's just kind of doing well here. It's doing better than my other disposition focus videos. And I read this in my community, and they were saying that a lot of the more popular detachments were on priority assets, especially for Space Marine. So, which I didn't realize. I don't look at too much of the other army stuff here. Like I have so much to figure out with Tyranids at the moment. Anyways, thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for chilling. Thank you for popping by as usual. And go make some coffee and have a good one. We'll see you next time here.